It will take a lot of jobs,
Hmm.
but because AI is taking over the very boring, redundant tasks that you don't already want to do,
Hmm.
AI is also opening up new positions that people didn't know was a position or could be an opportunity for you already.
To have.
You need AI in your business or you're going to be left behind. AI will remove the
Hmm.
repetitive tasks in your business so that you can truly focus on your business, on where you're planning on going, and saving you time.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Ronald Bolden, and today is episode 1 of the Don't Be Shy podcast. With me today is a wonderful colleague, a wonderful friend, and an expert in her field, Jackie Martinez. Let me tell you a bit about Jackie before we get started. Jackie is the founder and CEO of Anima Automation, a company dedicated to transforming businesses through AI and automation. She has a strong background in digital marketing and a passion for technology innovation. And Jackie has been instrumental in helping industries leverage AI for growth and efficiency. Her expertise extends to like Web3 technologies, where explores the convergence of blockchain and AI. And she is an expert when it comes to maximizing the performance of a company's operations. So I would like to say, with a big heartfelt welcome Jackie to the podcast.
Thank you, Ron. I really appreciate that intro. Um, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me as your first guest.
Yes, yeah, my first guest. Now, a little, disclosure. Jackie and I have been working with each other for quite some time now. And we enjoyed working with each other so much that we did a couple of LinkedIn lives. But this is the first time venturing into the podcast world. And I felt after years of people asking me to do it that I should go ahead and step out in 2025 and do so. But Jackie is a person who I feel is similar because we've been behind the scenes doing a lot of great things for a lot of great people. But I think one of the things for the Don't Be Shy podcast is to spread a light and highlight people who are making things happen and give them a platform, a safe space for them to do so. So, with that said, I have to ask the question, what inspired Miss Jackie to start down this road in terms of technology and what you do to serve all the people you serve?
My love for technology actually happened a little later in life. As Ron knows already, I started my first business at 17, and it was a marketing agency, in-person lead gen. And I stayed in that industry for quite a long time, going into consulting for marketing and sales companies and brick and mortar companies, building their SDR and BDR teams in the construction space and every industry in between. And I had the opportunity to work with some tech companies, building out SDR and BDR teams. And one of those tech companies decided to hire me in their C-suite. I was a chief innovation officer for them, and I found my love for technology, mostly in the data protection and security world. Um, Soon after I left that company, I opened up my first tech company for data protection, file transfer, and encryption,
By the way,
selling
how
technologies
old
like
were you when
that.
you started this? How old were you when you started this first tech company?
I was 22.
Okay, just
Yeah,
for those out there who wonder about if it's too early to start, go ahead. I didn't want to stop you, but just keep going.
never too
Okay.
early. I'm 28 now, so I've been
Yeah.
in tech since then. For the last 6 years, I've been in tech, and I fell in love with it. I started helping businesses in the Web3 space build their technologies, build their business through Anima. And it started out as just Anima platform. We were just helping businesses, re-educating them, re-educating entrepreneurs so that they had the opportunities to build that business. Um, we built out a whole platform around it, cool NFTs, and a couple other really cool technologies. And through building these businesses with them, I started automating some of their operations, automating and adding AI into their businesses. And Anima Automation started out of that. It was a snowball effect of all the things I could do to impact and help others. And yeah, it's kind of how I started. Now I have Anima. We're in every industry that you can think of, which is really
Mhm.
exciting. There's not an industry Anima hasn't touched, which is really cool.
Mm.
And I met Ron through there, and we've been working together for quite a bit now.
That's really interesting. I know you said a few different things. You talked about automation, of course, and you talked about Web3 technologies. That term is used, but I don't think a lot of people really understand maybe that term. Do you mind sort of providing some definition
Yeah.
behind what that means and how that impacts people? Yeah.
So, um, if you think of how the internet started back in the 90s, right? You enter in the computer, you have a couple of programs that run on that computer, and that's Web 1. You maybe were able to browse a couple of things, you were able to open up browser pages, and that was it. The search engine wasn't even implemented quite yet. As the search engine started developing and there was more dynamics behind the internet, like Google, Chrome, and all of like the other search engine solutions, that started the whole platform for Web 2. So early 2000s and on. Web 3, you have to think of it as an upgrade to what we're viewing as the internet. It's augmented reality meeting technology, hardware, and the internet, where people are now able to engage in a space that is not linear. It's in person to an extent. It's augmented interactions.
Hmm.
Um, that also comes with cryptocurrencies in the Web3 space,
Hmm.
contracts like NFTs, so
Hmm.
non fungible tokens that you're able to maintain the integrity of trade of anything you can think of, really. Um, and when I was getting into the Web3 space, it was like 2016 was the first time I purchased a cryptocurrency and I learned what Web3 was. I was a child. I had no idea what I was doing, but it was an interesting point to see, oh, look at all this opportunity for those who didn't have the education, who
Hmm.
didn't learn how to run a business
Hmm.
early on. And there was a low level of entry in the Web3 space. So I thought if I can educate young adults or adults that have already had a whole career on how to enter into the Web3 space and build this infrastructure in there, now they would be open to opportunities to retire, make a business, or provide to their family. So
Hmm. Yeah, well, that's awesome. And I think it's interesting you talk about Web3 and sort of that evolution. Dating myself a little bit, when I first got started, it was that Rev 1 of the infrastructure of the internet. And the story that I like to tell people is imagine a world where people didn't even weren't comfortable with a laptop. And then you talk about moving all of their important information or data to a place they can't touch, they can't see. They just have to believe that what they're asking for is protected, it's available, there's going to be continuity, and there's going to be security. And those four letters stand for what I call PACS. And I worked for a startup where what we sold was the foundation of the internet. We called it data packs for data, net packs for network attached storage, backpacks for disaster recovery. But that buzzword really resonated and it helped people kind of break through the mindset of, I have to touch what I'm working with. Then now I can believe that even though I'm not touching it, it's going to work. So this leads me to a question for you. When you're having conversations around people moving from their traditional operations to an automated or hybrid sort of operations using technology, what are some of the challenges that people have when you try to help them move from one style of business to another?
well, for one, the education gap.
Mm.
AI has become a huge buzzword, especially in today's environment on the news, TikTok, Instagram. You hear AI this, AI that, this is what's happening, but no
Hmm.
one really plays with it or understands what's happening when you're implementing AI. The other gap is I can't actually show you what it looks like to implement automation into your business until we do it,
Hmm.
until we outline all of your operations and your processes, and then we build it. You won't be able to see. But what I can tell you is these are all the KPIs and the numbers and
Hmm.
how it affects your business. Saving you 13,000 hours of uh, repetitive tasks in your business, saving you on revenue, on your overhead with the employees that you wish you had but you couldn't afford, and then also increasing revenue by 30% at minimum when you're implementing AI into your business properly
Hmm.
and that executes exactly how you need it. A lot of
Hmm.
my clients either start still a lot of human loops involved where it's like 50-50 automated, but there's like still humans checking at every point. But the clients that I see that goes full force, completely autonomous business, those are the ones that I see the biggest impact when it comes to AI being implemented. Uh, but there's still that gap. It's hard to explain a concept and idea to someone without them understanding all the pieces. But how we notice that it works if we just outline all the capabilities, we outline all the opportunities of what they can automate, and kind of, break it down into pieces that can be digestible. Like in Anima, we call them bots. It's a
Hmm.
better way of expressing and showing them how it works. But on the
Hmm.
back end, it's one system. It's all connected. There's swarms of solutions being built for your company, and that's just very hard to communicate,
Hmm.
honestly.
No, and I can understand that, right? Because the word has been used historically, evangelism, right? In all kind of different applications, politics, religion, technology, education. You are helping somebody who walked in who didn't understand anything or very little knowledge. And you're sort of that bridge between where they were and where they'll be. And if you're effective, you're closing the gap of their understanding and probably their acceptance when it comes to that bridge. So, as a bridge builder, that's what I'll say, of old thinking to new thinking. Is that sort of the core of Anima automation in terms of what it's doing for people? Would you say that, or would it be more than that?
I would say it'd be a little bit more than that
Mhm.
because for those that understand what AI is already or what these automation opportunities are, they're the ones that get really creative on what can be built
Mhm.
and what it is that we're helping the industry on. You work with me on some of these projects, as you know, and
Mhm.
we get to be a part of some really cool projects that we get to automate the production of specific energies or specific detections that you wouldn't be able to do without that education, but you also wouldn't be able to do without the initial understanding.
Mhm.
Uh, I hope that answers your question.
No, no, it does, because it sounds like what you said, if I heard you correctly, is before I can get you to see or understand why you would want to use it, I need to understand you, almost explain to you why it exists, right? What is the purpose of this? And I like to say the before and after effect. Uh, Today, you go out to the field. Let's say you work for a utility company, and today you go out in that field, and you're an old school company, you've been around for a long time, and they ask you to go out and go ahead and take readings off of some device. And you go out there, whatever your prompter is, and you go out there and take the readings. And you have 30 different devices that you have to collect that data from. That's an all day opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Versus if I had some system that monitored those things remotely, and then it collected it in a remote location on site, then I just go to that one building, see if all 30 devices have been collected in terms of data, and then I do my work from that one building versus going to 30 individual locations to collect the data. That to me is an example
Yes.
of technology impacting you, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Now, after I get that information, what do I do with that data, right? And how is it going to help the overall business make better decisions? This is where I see AI. I like to say it helps you eliminate redundant tasks. So if we were to morph into the conversation of the challenges of AI implementation, can you talk about how Anima helps people when it comes to the elimination of redundant tasks? And can you give a couple of examples of a before and after, like I just did, of collecting and all the
Yeah,
things you all do? Yeah.
of course. So we first, what we're going to do is we're going to outline your current operations, find any bottlenecks and remove them as quickly as possible, and build a strategy around your current process. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a process, we build one with you that makes sense for your business and where you're at currently and where you're looking to scale.
Mm-hmm.
We try to work with your current tools, or we even replace the redundant tools that a lot of companies tend to have and implement the best strategies and tools for your business and try to save you as much money as possible, right? We're there to remove overhead. We're there to remove hours from your daily
Mm-hmm.
uh, life and your employees' life and make their lives easier and then open up doors for them, right? We can automate about 80% of a sales team, but
Mm-hmm.
that does not mean that you are removing your sales team. It just means that your sales team now has the opportunity to build better connections, build more human connections, go to events, be there in person, closing those larger deals, and leaving the SDR and BDR bot to automate that whole process for you.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to lean in on this a little bit. I think there is still this sort of thought that we're still looking at the Terminator. All the jobs are gone. They're all being automated. What am I going to do? I'm XYZ years old and I can't
Mhm.
get to this new world. When you're out there talking about policy, how automation and AI can be a part of our natural world, how do you address people who have this fear that it's going to just take over all my jobs? Like you just said, you talked about how it wouldn't, but what is your message? How do you talk about that particular sort of
Yeah.
fear people have? Yeah.
Well, I am very clear. It will take a lot of jobs.
Hmm.
But because AI is taking over the very boring, redundant tasks that you don't already want to do,
Hmm.
AI is also opening up new positions that people didn't know was a position or could be an opportunity for you already, right? The
What's an
sales role
example?
back when I
Yeah.
was building,
Hmm.
yeah, going back to like the SDR bot, because that's what we were just talking about. I
Hmm.
built SDR and BDR teams for, I don't know, 5, 6 years for
Hmm.
large companies, small companies in every industry. They used to have to email 250 people a day, make 150 calls a day, send out 20 or 50 LinkedIn messages a day, interact and at least close 3 to 4 meetings per day. And if you didn't do all those tasks, your KPIs and your numbers were going down, and then you were being reviewed as an employee. And it was a lot. Like, I don't know if I'm pretty sure you've done this already, like where you
Uh-huh.
sat and done an SDR role for a whole
Yeah,
day.
$100
That's
a
nine
day.
hours
It was,
straight.
yeah, yeah, $100 a day.
9 hours straight.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and what if you don't actually meet your meeting mark for that day?
Hmm.
And what if at the end of the week you did all that work and there's no sales or no meetings on your calendar to prove it?
Hmm.
That is just annoying. And you had no other time to really make connections, have conversations,
Hmm.
be in the room with the salesperson or with the decision maker and truly build that relationship you need to have to
Hmm.
close that big $100,000, $200,000, even $1 million deal because you didn't have time. Um,
Hmm.
and if you're thinking like another good example, some of the technologies I build is really human like, where there's humans interacting in events, but they're all AIs. AIs acting as a human, answering questions, debating, uh, questioning others in this event. And they're an AI version or a clone of the attendees that I've cloned this after. And now the attendee or the person that had hired me to build this, they're out there enjoying their time. They're having a drink with their friend, closing a deal at the table at this event, or they're interacting with new possible networks that they didn't think that they would have time to because they're not sitting there asking or answering the same couple 5 questions that tends to happen at these events.
Mm.
It's just removing those little things that you never think about. Oh, I really hate doing this. when AI gets a little bit more interesting, I would say I would love an AI to come and clean my house. I hate cleaning my house. So whoever invents that, please send it to me. I But that time could be used differently. I can spend
Mhm,
that time with my daughter. I can
mhm,
spend that time on my business. I can
mhm.
spend that time going getting my nails done. Because I don't know if you know, to get your nails done is like a 2 hour ordeal, and you don't have
Yeah,
time
yeah,
for it.
I heard,
But figure out.
I heard it's what that's just a manicure. If you add a pedicure, then go ahead and just lock down half the day. That's what I was told. Yeah, yeah, a mani
Well,
pedi. I
like
think that's
two
what
to
it
three
is. Yeah,
hours.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's yeah. I don't.
just about.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people I'm sure have to deal with that. I don't, but you're right. It's a whole different schedule.
Well,
But
that's
yeah,
why I do communicate. It is
yeah,
important for you to have some fear that there's going to
yeah.
be jobs that are lost. But what are you doing as a human to
Hmm.
adjust yourself and be prepared for those
Hmm.
loss of jobs? How are you elevating your skills to transition into a
Hmm.
better job, into a job that you actually might enjoy
Hmm.
than, cleaning or sending the same email over and over again? Uh, so it's a yes and no question or yes and no answer.
Got you. What would you say, considering that, what are some of the challenges that you say that you've encountered when implementing AI as part of a solution?
I try to simplify execution of any AI as
Hmm.
best as possible to like I'm talking to an AI model or I'm pressing a button or I am typing in this information. I keep it
Hmm.
very simple. But for those who I'm teaching how to use an AI model for the first time, there's always a knowledge gap. Like, that's not possible. They can't do this. They can't do X, Y,
Hmm.
and Z. And I
Hmm.
think the funniest interaction was I worked with a lawyer in California,
Hmm.
and he was a hoot. I enjoyed him very much. But when it came to me showing him how to use my assistant AI that you literally talk to, like Jarvis, for example,
Hmm.
send XYZ email to David at this company, and that's all you had to tell this AI. This man couldn't believe it. He was just like,
Hmm.
no, Jackie, that's not possible. That AI can't do that. I was like, what do you think it should be? He's like, well, I should have to open up my email and press this button and then it writes it for me and I need to proofread it. I was like, but why? Why would you do that to yourself? So I
Hmm.
think that gap of what's possible versus what they expect aren't always matching.
Hmm. Do you think that comes from, do you see that resistance at all age groups? Or is this kind of sometimes historically you see it with, we'll call it the old school, the Gen, I don't know, Gen X or, you know, Gen Y or new Gen or whatever Gen we're in right now? Do you see it kind of all across the area, or is that just sort of the more seasoned people, as I'll say?
I would say I see it in 25-year-olds and up.
Hmm.
For example, my sister, who's 13, she already plays with AI. She knows
Hmm.
what it's possible, like what the capabilities are. I sit down with her and I teach her, like, here are the new things that came out this week. Play.
Hmm. Hmm.
Even my daughter, she interacted with AI this Christmas because I did some
Hmm.
really cool things with AI during the
How
holidays to see
how old is your daughter?
what
How old
we
is your
could
daughter?
do.
How old is your daughter?
She's 5. Yeah, she's 5 years old.
Okay, whoa. Let me ask. So you have a 5-year-old daughter who's already interacting with AI right now.
Hmm. She can open up ChatGPT herself. She can ask it questions.
Hmm. Now, hear me. Now I'm going to pivot. Here's a question I want to ask you. Right, there are the parents out there who talk about, look at that kid always on their phone. That's all they do is on their phone. There's no interaction. Like we go out to eat dinner, right? And then there are the ones who
Hmm.
basically they have a stretched life. You know, they might be a single mom, they might be a single dad. They're dealing with all these dynamics, and they need some kind of break to get some things done. So they want to keep their kids occupied. Can you talk
Hmm.
about the balance between raising a technical child and having the balance between what you have done or seen other people in tech do and some best practices? Let's just talk about it that way. What are some thoughts you have in terms of what has worked for you where
Yeah.
your daughter's not overexposed, but she's getting the proper taste of AI?
Yeah, so I get to work on really cool projects about implementing AIs into cities or in everyday environments, which
Mm-hmm.
means I know what the future is going to look like. I
Mm-hmm.
don't limit television or technology from her too much, but she has hours that she's able to do it
Mm-hmm.
throughout the days. And then she also has to earn it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Socially, she's a single child, so socially we make sure that she's going to play dates and she's interacting with my sisters as they're pretty young, and she's still getting the social needs and interactions met. We
Mm-hmm.
are still treating her and teaching her all the manners that you need socially. But
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to tech time, she's allowed to watch a TV shows. We call it game shows in our house. So like she'll
Mm-hmm.
watch an education show. She really likes veterinarian things, so that's what she's been watching, and she'll get like about 45 minutes of that. And the
Mm-hmm.
rest is her learning with AI. So there are apps out there for young kids that are dynamic and changes by the child's learning style and the needs of that child. My
Mm-hmm.
daughter's very smart. She's
Mm-hmm.
advanced mathematically and in science, but she's a little at par when it comes to her reading. So
Mm-hmm.
the AI that she works with teaches her how to speak better, how to read specific words, and any letters that she struggles with, and continues teaching her over time.
Mm-hmm.
And I notice an increase in her attention span when it comes to those types of games or interactions. And I also notice an increase in her vocabulary and just how she speaks overall, which is hilarious to hear a 5-year-old speak the way she does.
Mm-hmm.
But it's increasing her intelligence. And now she's
Yeah.
getting used to interacting with AI. She's
Mm-hmm.
not afraid of it. She knows that mommy builds all these cool things and she gets to see me play with it too. So why wouldn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Mind, we have our rules. There are certain topics that we've removed from our AI models that we share with her. There
Mm-hmm.
are rules that we have around the technologies and how she can use it. And we remind her of these rules on a weekly basis because they do change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if she's not behaving or if she didn't follow, she doesn't have chores. She like has specific things that she gets to do or has to do throughout the week. And if it's not completed, the consequences are no game show, no iPad. Uh, so that's kind of how we keep it in our home. And her father and I agree on everything that we do around technology. So that's also important to have. Make sure both
Mm-hmm.
parents are on the same page around it.
Yeah, I can hear you. I think about my goddaughter's youngest. She's 4, and if you hear her communicate, you think you're talking to like a 15-year-old. And I said, "What did you do to help her vocabulary be so expansive?" She says, "Well, I have her do a lot of interactive games. I have her do a lot of role play games. So I have her do a lot of different things where she's forced to communicate." And I said, "Well, that's a brilliant way of using technology because kids, like everyone else, they have different things they do to listen to you, but also they can tune you out." And I remember there's a term that my older son, who's 22 now, he used to say to us, and we didn't understand what he was saying. And then we started figuring out later on, whenever he didn't want to hear what we had to say, he would say, "Don't cough on me." And we're like, "Don't cough on you." He's like, "Don't cough on me." We found out what he meant to say is, "Don't talk to me."
Thanks. Don't
And
cough on you.
don't cough on me. And so we still to this day joke about it, say, "Don't cough on me." I will use this term, with family. Like, I've heard enough. And I said, "Don't cough on me." And they're like, "What do you mean don't cough on me?" That means, when you cough, you're opening your mouth. That means you have to stop, close your mouth. That means I don't want to hear you talking. But that was Ronald, who
That's
you've talked to
hilarious.
and met. This is Ronald's way
Mm-hmm.
of basically saying in a way, "I don't really want to hear this anymore. I've heard enough from you, mom and dad." And so, but but it was always interactive games. It was role play games or role play things. It was uh, math problems that I always deal with word problems because I wanted them to do critical thinking. This is all pre-AI,
Mm-hmm.
but then when AI came along, there were the interactives. I mean, where you can do stuff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want you to recommend a product, but when you are evaluating a product that you're going to introduce to your daughter, or you're going to even use as part of, let's just say, part of the strategies you talk to businesses about, what is your criteria for evaluating an AI technology? What does that criteria look like?
Well, for one, is my data protected? That's always going to be the first thing I look at. Uh, you
Hmm.
have to be careful with what AIs you use because your data may not be protected, and
Hmm.
that means they're making money off of your data. And you know that
Hmm.
I'm a huge proponent of protecting your data and
Hmm.
selling your own data, and
Hmm.
that's what I work towards, big picture wise.
Hmm.
And then the other thing is, how safe is that technology with my child, or how safe is that going to be for a business infrastructure wise? Uh, and then how is it interacting with my baby, and how is it going to be interacting with my clients, and how well can I build or manipulate the product?
Hmm.
Uh, I'm looking for open APIs. I'm looking for integrations with automation tools. If they don't have that, there's no point in me even looking at them.
Hmm.
When it comes to the kids stuff, is that data getting saved so I can review it, so
Hmm.
I could see what's interesting my baby
Hmm.
throughout the week and what
Hmm.
she's asking questions about, what she's talking about, and I can also identify where she is in her education and what she's struggling with, what she needs more assistance on, so that maybe her father and I can sit down and have that more hands-on approach to her. Because yes, AI is great into teaching her, but as a parent, you still want to spend time with your child and still
Hmm.
understand where they're at cognitively.
Hmm.
Um, so those are the things I look for when it comes to any technology being introduced. I'm sorry, Ron, you got cut out. I can't hear you. I can hear you now, yes.
Can you hear me now?
Hmm.
Okay, sorry. Uh, when you're talking to, I know you talk to a lot of people that are in a influential space.
Hmm.
Okay. Uh, can you hear me
Yeah,
still?
I can hear you.
Okay. When you are talking to, let's call people of power and influence, and they're trying to decipher or identify the best ways to use AI and maybe precautionary tales on things that you want to warn them about if they're about to maybe have inappropriate thoughts on how they're going to use AI. What are some, it's a two-part question. One, what would you tell your 17-year-old self now about how AI can be used responsibly? And two, what are the type of stories you tell them on the appropriate use of AI and responsible use of AI?
Well, one of the things that I do talk about in this space is I do believe there should be governance around AI.
Mm-hmm.
I say that AI is a weapon and helpful to any communities it's in. Just depends who's holding the knife, right? A knife can be a tool or it can be harmful. Um, Stories. There was one literally yesterday. There was a gentleman who planned out a whole threat and execution of killing multiple people, and he used AI to plan
Mm-hmm.
the whole thing. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, AI does have its own guidelines and ways that it protects the user on not asking specific questions or having specific conversations, but we can't ever fully stop it. So that person had a knife in his hand and he used it maliciously with malice intent.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
for the person, like a good example would be a friend of my dad's. He graduated high school at 14 years old. Couldn't complete high school. He couldn't afford living without working, so he went into working at a very young age. Never completed college. Never did anything else but the career path that he was in. He first experienced AI about a year ago. I showed him how to use it. I showed him how to prompt it properly. I showed him how easy it was to talk to it like a human. He now has a business with 64, 65 fleets of vehicles that go around Texas and does key installations or car key replacements or computer replacements for cars, all from educating himself through AI. And he wouldn't have the opportunity prior. He wouldn't have the education. He wouldn't know what to do in his business at all And he probably wouldn't have gotten a coach because that's not their mentality, right? They're third world country people coming to the US that are trying their best to make a living and trying their best to get the most out of life. And there are
Mm,
stories like that across the world that I hear on how impactful AI was to them and how harmful AI can be.
mhm,
So if I was
mm,
17, I would say I'd probably tell myself to learn more about AI at that age because AI has been around since the 1980s, and I didn't even give
mhm,
any attention towards tech at 17. I was going to be a forensic
mhm,
anthropologist at that age. I was going to be
mhm,
a doctor
mhm,
of some sort. Um, and I would also say help others educate them on AI younger, um,
mhm.
and teach them that it's not as harmful as you think it's going to be. It's going to be a lot more helpful to society than we any of us know.
Mm. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. I think about what I would tell my younger self. Uh, Probably the number one thing I would tell my younger self is learn how to code
You don't have to code
at a
anymore.
basic. I know you don't anymore. Yeah, but just at a basic level, uh, so that I can at least a little bit of understanding of what I'm looking at. Of course, now, like you said, you don't have to code anymore. But it would have been nice to say, you know what? I don't see this. I want to build it. I don't. That's not here. I want to create it. Now we have all this prompting engineering, where if you know how to do the prompts correctly, you can do all kind of incredible stuff, right? You can create commands and initiate things to help you. Which leads me to a question for you, another pivot. Everyone's heard of ChatGPT. What is your feelings about ChatGPT, the good of ChatGPT, and the precautionary tale on how you maybe should not over depend on ChatGPT? What are your thoughts around that?
Well, no AI is accurate, right? We're still in infancy stage. AI is a baby that is just smarter than you, and that's okay. But it
Mm,
also means that information is not always correct. I would also say your
mm,
data is not protected if you're using the basic ChatGPT. You have to upgrade for that, which means if you go to ChatGPT after using it, let's say 3 months, and you ask ChatGPT, please evaluate all the conversations I've had with you and give me a synopsis of my personality, you may not be happy with what you hear. Just saying, because it's going to pull out all of the funny things that you don't realize about how you communicate, your thought process, how you come across problems, how you solve these problems, what the solution you end up
Mhm.
going with. ChatGPT is taking all that information and training itself. Not only is it training yourself, but you can also get feedback. So if you're not very friendly with what you're thinking, probably don't ask that question. Um, in the business space, same thing. Your data's not protected there. It is not 100% accurate. If you don't prompt it properly, it will sound very basic, like what everyone else is using ChatGPT for, writing blogs, landing pages. Without training it, it is going to look like everyone else's content. It's going to look like everything else
Mhm.
that's out there on the internet. You're not going to get good traction there. If you're a business, you need to train your
Mhm.
ChatGPT. You need to feed it as much data as possible.
Mhm.
You need to upgrade your account so your data is
Mhm.
protected and make sure it's not taking your data. Um, and also
Mhm.
monitor what your employees are asking ChatGPT. You will be surprised how many of your employees don't know what they're doing. If they don't know what they're doing, why are you not educating them further? If they do know what they're doing, what else are they
Right.
using ChatGPT for that you didn't realize was needed in your business? And then also, like,
Yeah.
are they asking anything inappropriate? Uh, I
Mm.
hope that no one is, but I'm sure it's happened out there.
Yeah. Now, what you just kind of lead into to me was sort of the baseline of
Mm-hmm.
best practices, right? The use of Chat GPT or any type of AI technology sort of the policies you need to put in place to make sure that it's used appropriately, right? The guardrails, as they say, right? And so one of the things I was hoping, and we did do it sort of in a way that I love, is that we talked about the application of technology when it comes to your children, the application of the technology when it comes to introducing it to new people, the application of the technology when you just talk about companies and how they may want to put policies in place to use it appropriately. Which leads me to a question that I want to ask you. You can answer, of course, or not, because we have a world of free speech. But I hope you're
Okay.
willing to answer this
Oh,
question. If you were to recommend that over the next 3 months, a New Year's resolution is I want to become a AI guru, what products or have you found that have helped you, even at your high state, to become a better, more well-rounded, effective AI user? Are there any products you would recommend or services you'd recommend that people probably should consider if they want to really get better at this for
yeah.
2025?
There is a tool called There's an AI for that. It's a search engine around only AI technologies. They have a newsletter as well that comes out and educates you on every new AI tool that comes out. That being said, though, vet the
Hmm.
products that you are seeing on There's an AI for that. Products will enter the AI space as
Hmm.
quickly as it will be removed. AI moves so quickly.
Whoa, 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 whoa. So it's actually called There's
Yes,
an
and you can
AI for
literally
that?
look up whatever AI tool you need. So, like, if you're looking for
Ah.
a marketing tool to get specific outputs, you can go and look there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I will say, if you are a
Okay.
business implementing
Eh,
AI tools into your business, do not do it without strategy. AI tool covering a band-aid in your
mm-hmm.
company will only cover that band-aid. It won't move you further in your goal or scaling your business the way you want to. And the best way to have AI
Mm-hmm.
is connecting the AI systems together and automating those systems so that it's actually effective and not just another tool you're adding to the tech stack.
So if I'm hearing you, and this is what I say to other salespeople I talk to, is that you can use AI maybe to ask some of the redundant questions you have. But then after those redundant questions are collected, you always want to set up a live confirmation to confirm what they asked, what they answered, and connect the dots between what they responded to and what is actually going on in their
Can
life.
you give me an example
And
so
that
I
to me
can
is where
be
they.
sure we're on the same page?
So an example is a business who needs more clients. Okay. You ask them the question, okay, what is your ideal client? Small, medium, or large? And they say, well, I want medium-sized clients. Okay. How much revenue does that company need to be generating? Okay, they need to generate up to $5 million. Okay. And what type of clients are you looking for? Online, offline, or not? And they say online. Well, the devil's in the details. What is your definition of small?
It's not only just in the details, but does it have a good understanding on your
But
business, right? There are a bunch of steps that you missed there. The first
yes,
thing is prompting that
right,
chat, that specific chat that you are starting. I want you to act as an
right,
expert in XYZ space. This is my business. Give the
yeah,
website. Give as much information on your business. Give it data on your past
mm-hmm,
clients.
okay,
How
right,
did you engage with those clients?
right,
How did you close that client? How long did it
right,
take you? All that information needs to be given to the AI model for them to even suggest anything like who
yeah,
your audience is. And then what if that doesn't match the
right,
thing that you have in your brain? Are you going to argue with that AI? And if
right,
so, go and try what you have in your brain first. Most likely it may work,
mm-hmm,
most likely will fail. And then you're going to end up back to that AI saying, oh, this is not what I wanted, start all over. Um, the AI will be able to take as much data as you give it and do a proper evaluation on the business, but you have to
right,
give it to it. You can't
right,
just ask an AI model, I have this business and I want X types of clients and this is the size I want, because it may not be the strategy for your
yeah.
business. It may not work.
No, I hear you, and that's why I was saying that I think when people are too broad, they get
Yes.
broad results. right? But if they can be more granular, then they can at least sort of create the framework for their AI to give them more of the service that they're or the response they're looking for. Like, I'm looking for small business to work with. My definition of a small business is a company that is less than 100 employees and a revenue of $5 million annual recurring revenue. The type of business I want to talk to are in the healthcare space, but I'm looking for a healthcare product or healthcare equipment providers, and I'm looking for them in Northern California. I mean, that's some detail so that then if you're trying to create a target list, you at least are giving it framework, right? I like to always say, find me clients. Okay, great. Find me medical clients. Okay, that's nicer. Find me medical clients that are in Northern California that have this as the parameters of what their business is. Now I'm giving it enough detail so that when I get results, they are at least in what my mind thinks is my target. I at least now have more detail to test that theory. That's what I'm thinking. But I think a lot of people have watched too many commercials and all those little subtle things they see, like, hey, we know the name, 4-letter word, and 45 things they'll think of. It doesn't work that way. You have to train it,
Yeah.
if what I'm hearing you correctly. Right. And so that leads me as we sort of wrap up into what I like to say is best practices or walking away with the best thought process. If you were to have a conclusion as to a business owner listening to this podcast, a solopreneur, a large corporation looking at implementing AI, what would you say is the most important thing for them to consider being the AI and automation specialist that you are? If they're going to start making decisions about implementing AI in 2025, what are some takeaways you would like them to have?
You need AI in your business or you're going to be left behind. AI will remove like the
Mm-hmm.
repetitive tasks in your business so that you can truly focus on your business and where you're planning on going and saving you time and educate yourself before you do anything. There are a lot of other AI automation companies out there, but are they going to match the strategies and processes you have in place? And please don't implement AI without a strategy. That's just a band aid. It's just going to get what you want
Mm.
done. It's not going to be impactful to your business. Uh, so before you move forward with anybody, make sure that they're focused and they're there for you and your business, not just trying to get another bid in their company or, you know, I guess those are the things I'd say. And then be creative. Now is our opportunity to really be humans and be creative. And we have AI to give us the basics. Now we have the time. This is the time for humans to be humans, right? Um, so keep on being a human.
Mm-hmm. Keeps on. I think that's a great place to end it, right? Keep on being a keep
Yeah,
on being a human,
they can't
right?
replace us like that.
You know, yeah, yeah, but I think that's a great place to end it. Keep on being a human. So, as I want to wrap up, I want to say thank you, Miss Jackie Martinez, for coming and talking to the world about AI and their proper uses of AI and how Anima Automation is helping people get to that reality. I realize that, when it comes to time, it's precious for all of us, especially when we're parents, and that any time we spend talking to somebody that is about anything, we want to make sure that we can deliver what I like to say value to the people we talk to. So I want to thank you for being guest one of the Don't Be
Thank you for
Shy
having me.
podcast. Yeah, and for those who want to learn more about Anita Automation, we will provide that information after this podcast. And I encourage you that if you're thinking about it, have thought about it, or know that you need to have it as a part of your business, this is the company that can help you from the educational to the implementation of what you're looking for. So
Thank
thank you
you.
again.